Hey guys, it's Justpeacheyy. I had a few people ask me how I draw and color my eyes. And in all honesty, you can draw your eyes in any sort of way that's, fits your style. But I can at least show you guys how to do the shiny parts and how I color. So first off, you're just going to need a little drawing that has eyes. I kind of drew up something really quick just to do this tutorial. And I'm going to color it. So a lot of the times with eyes, and the way that I do them, you're gonna need a little bit darker of a color than you have on probably like your reference sheet. So let's say the character that you're drawing's eyes are like a really pale green. That's not going to show up very much when you use like the luminosity stuff. So first thing you're going to do is if your character's color is really pale, you're going to up the saturation a little bit and or make it a little bit darker. So the shininess is going to come out a lot better if you do that. So I'm just going to make, so this character's eyes, I'm going to make are a light green. So I'm going to bump up the saturation and make it a little darker before I do that. And also, the eyes look a little bit better as well if you don't have the eye whites as pure white. So they'll look a little bit more shiny if you don't use pure white. Because when you use the luminosity layer, which I will show you guys, it's going to brighten it up. And you can't really brighten up pure white. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make these eye whites a little bit yellow. So bump that up a little bit as well. I sometimes even use like a very light gray. So maybe I'll do that instead. I'll use kind of like a little light gray, just so I can use the luminosity to my full advantage. I've also locked the layer. I do my eyes on a different layer, at least for the coloring, before I even get into the luminosity stuff. So you'll see that even if I color outside the eye layer, it's not going to go anywhere. For Paintool SAI, it's over here. It says preserve opacity. So let's see, if I click that off, I can go outside. But if I click it on, I'm inside that layer. All right, so let me just do it on this side. Make that a little bit gray, so that when we get that luminosity there, it's gonna look pretty dang good. So what I like to do first is I like to shade. So this little part right here, it's on the multiply layer, and I apply that first. So I like to think of the color wheel when I do this. I'm probably going to do something that's a little bit more blue, because if you do like a red for green, if your eye color is green and you do a red, it's going to look a little bit muddy when you do the multiply layer. So sometimes I like to do purple. Purple and blue are usually my go-tos. Reds are also really good for blues and pinks. So just do whatever you think is going to look good. So I'm going to, on a different layer, and I'm going to use my stabilizer because my hands are a little shaky. I'm going to draw a little line. Oops, that's not the color I want. Make that a little purple. Draw a little line that goes up to the corners, just to do a little bit more extra shading with my eyeballs. I'm going to do that on both sides. So this is just on a normal layer right now. So after I get this, as you can see, it's not really shading too much. I'm going to go over to the mode layer, which is over here inside. And even Photoshop has this as well. You can change it. I believe it's like over on this side. And I'm going to hit multiply. And as you can see, it darkens that a lot. And so I don't want it up all the way because I want it to look like it's shaded. So I'm going to bump that down. So now what we're going to do is we are going to start with the shiny stuff. So under the multiply layer, I'm going to make a new layer, and you're going to put it for luminosity, which is over here. What I like to do is I take my pencil tool, which is just a standard pencil tool. You can see all my settings over here. I bump down the density to very, very low. I color pick the color, the darker color of my eyes, and I'm going to go up. I'm going to pick a lighter version. So I kind of go over it a few times with this. So now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to find a good circle. I like to do it kind of around the width of, maybe a little bit less than the width of what the eye is all around. And my stabilizer is going to be down. I'm just going to sort of, depending on what your tablet is and how much like pressure sensitivity, you might even want to put the density size down even further. So what I'm going to do, my tablet's very sensitive, is just sort of make little circles going around the eyeball. As you can see, it lightens it up a little bit. And I'm going to do that on the other side. And now, so what I like to do with a lot of the eye colors is sometimes I'll even go to yellow. And I'll pick really light yellow. I'll pick a smaller circle, so maybe we'll do 50 this time. Bump up the density a tiny bit, and I'm going to go back over these little areas and make more little circles. So as you can see, there's kind of like a yellow tint to it now, but it's still kind of that original green color underneath. So even though the eye color is a little bit darker at the bottom, the color that I was going for, which is a lighter green, is kind of in the middle. So I like to do that. Sometimes I even like to take the airbrush tool, get a smaller size for that. Bump that down very low, do all the way white, and kind of go over it just a little bit in the middle to kind of brighten it up. So we're not done yet, but you kind of get the basics down. I also like to put some dots in there. Some people don't like doing that. I kind of like doing that with like a nice little yellow, especially if it's for green. You know, kind of brings up little flecks, which I like to see in the eyes a lot. Gives it more depth. Always need more depth in this kind of stuff. You can do this for like any sort of which way. So now, something else that I really like to do is if you go up to your line art layer, which my line art layer is right here, I'm going to preserve the opacity. And to make the eyes look even more shiny is I usually take like a color pick from the eyeballs, probably one of the darker areas. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the airbrush, make sure my airbrush is a decent size, low density, and I'm just going to go over some of the line art layers around the eyes, make it look a little bit more shiny. Since green is good pairing with yellow, go over to the yellow, density down a little bit, like that. Oops, that is down all the way. Put a little bit more color in there. So if you see from far away, that looks super shiny, super shiny. And just blur that a little bit. And you're looking pretty good. Let's see. So, what else can we do with these eyes? So, I definitely can put the eye shinies in. So you can do that right now. So make sure you bump up that density. And I like to make mine pretty big. Some people do small ones. Some people do colored ones, which is also pretty good. Sometimes if you have like evil characters, people put like red for their eye shinies. I like to do two because big cartoony artist has big cartoony eye shinies. But people even like to bump up, make these luminescent. So sometimes if you do luminosity and you drag this down, it can make it look like the eye shinies are also kind of going through it a little bit, which is nice. I usually kind of make them more opaque, but still looks pretty good. So some extra things you can do is that you can, you know, do a little bit of airbrushing. Luminosity is your friend in this situation. Do a little bit of airbrushing kind of over here, which is helpful for when your eyes, you know, are a little bit darker than the pure white. So let's see, I'll do yellow. Green is also good. Maybe I'll just do a very, very light green yellow. And then kind of airbrush down here. This is on normal, so if you see, since it's normal now, and I put the luminosity layer, so that it changes up a little bit. Makes it even more shiny. And now this under eye down here is going to brighten up. And again, I like to blur it a little bit so it's not as straightforward, but wherever you think that shine is going to hit, sometimes in the corners, you can do that as well. Yeah, that's pretty much my straightforward eye tutorial on how to color eyes. It's really not that bad. So let me know if you have any questions, and hopefully I can answer them. But don't forget to like and subscribe, or follow me on Instagram or Twitter. But if you have any other tutorials that you'd like to see, let me know. And thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this video.